What's up, everybody? Hadlen here. We have the Magician's Code. It's back. We're back, and we're kicking it off with an incredible performer who's now one of my good friends here in Toronto. His name is Mahdi. Mahdi the Magician. Dude,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Dude, it's so awesome getting to hang out with you and just be able to pick your brain. But then also it's like you have so much knowledge in magic, in performing, and like creative eye that like sometimes I don't even have to ask something, and you just you go in the direction that I want to ask already.
Like, I think it's important for all of us to have friends in magic. Some friends will do different things for you. Like, there's some friends who I will just sit down and talk about technique because it's all that they sort of think about. And there's different friends who think about different things, but it's good to have people who you can bounce ideas from and get alternate perspectives, because I don't know, for me personally, oftentimes when I'm thinking of things, I'm sort of in my own world, and which is fine. I can get into my own world, and that allows me to really express myself in different ways. But sometimes you need to be taken out of your world. Like, we all get taken out of our world when we share stuff with other people. And then it's good to have people who you can sort of sound stuff off with, and people who you can disagree with. Like, I'll have friends who I'll bounce ideas off, and they're like, oh, this is a horrible idea. But I'll believe in the idea, or I'll see something in it that they don't necessarily see, and I'll still pursue it. But it's good to have like sort of those bumpers on the side where you can bounce stuff off.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I love how you said, when we're talking to people, we go out of our world because, like, our world is magic, and it's so tough to actually talk magic with someone that's not in the world of magic, to be able to just speak freely about those things.
Usually when you're talking to somebody outside of the world of magic, their knowledge of magic is so limited that you're basically exposing them to that world of magic. Not exposing magic, but exposing them to that world, because they don't really have any knowledge of it. So, you can show them a video, or you can show them a poster like the ones you have on the wall, and talk about this magician and what they did. And nobody has really any clue about magic generally, because even though it has a rich history, it hasn't really been very good at getting into the public's, like, they don't know about it. I think they imagine it, but they don't really like know about it, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm just sort of.
It does make sense. Sorry, I'm running the producer role at the same time.
It's okay.
While you're going, I'm just
the regular
I'm
producers
listening at the
on
same
a
time.
coffee break. They're getting us warm coffee.
Getting us warm coffee. Yes. Thank you, producer Joe. Appreciate it. Sorry, yeah. I was also thinking of two different things at the same time. So I apologize for interrupting. I just wanted to get the mic closer to your mouth because, no, you were good.
Well, the last time we got it closer, it actually went inside my mouth. And, that's how these mics sometimes get broken. You have a little too much fun here sometimes. But yeah, the public doesn't really know about magic. So every single time we're sharing magic with people, we're telling them stories about magic. We're taking them into our magic world, which has all the great magicians and everything. But like, the public has an imagination of magic. They can relate to, like, everybody knows who Houdini is. If you say Houdini, and people will say, oh, he could escape from anything. But people don't really know that much about him. But there's so much of a rich history, and it's the same with every magician. So, I don't know. We're sort of in a role where we're constantly trying to share something, but we're very lucky because it has such a rich history. We're very lucky.
Yeah, and speaking of rich history, like, something that's happening right now and you've been sharing it on your story recently. This is like a current event type of thing. So this is going to date when this was actually recorded. But those fires came real close to destroying a lot of history.
Yeah, so right now, well, today is what, January 8th?
9th.
January 9th.
2025.
Basically, there's been huge fires in LA and in California, all over the place. But the Magic Castle, where it is in LA, it's literally on the edge of a hill, like at the edge of a canyon. And right to the south of it, I guess, you have all these streets and buildings and concrete. So it's very hard for stuff to catch fire south of it, but literally it's surrounded by all this brush and trees and nature, and all that caught on fire. So, and with the wind and everything yesterday, it was quite dramatic. Like the fire was literally going towards the Magic Castle, and everybody was freaking out. And it was open. They had to like shut it down.
Oh wow.
Cancel all the shows and
evacuate.
Yeah, get everybody out. And but it's not only that evacuated; the whole neighborhood evacuated. So and so many magicians live near there, and there's different businesses and stuff. So a lot of people their houses burned down, or local businesses burned down. So it's not a good scene. But luckily, the Magic Castle wasn't burnt. But
there was people that were like there, helping out, ready to extract important pieces, right?
Yeah. So there's a Facebook group. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. Well, I'll say it. I don't know. I'm not a member of the Academy of Magical Arts, but somehow I'm on the Facebook group. They have a secret Facebook group. Anyways, long story. Anyways, doesn't matter.
Yeah. There's always secrets in magic.
Yeah, they put the call out like, who's around? We need to do an emergency thing to get some stuff out of there, because there's millions of dollars. And when I say millions, it's not just the price of things. A lot of the stuff are unique. Like, and by what I mean by unique is there's not another copy of it. There's only like one photograph or one costume or one poster or painting.
Or one tamariz.
Or, well, one is safe in Spain, I think. But yeah, there's only one. So if that stuff gets destroyed, it's gone forever. So that was quite dramatic. People rushing there and being ready to, and not only rushing there, like everybody was evacuated. So I don't know how they even got there, because the police weren't allowing anybody in. Like they had to get permission to go there, and they were hosing everything down. It's just.
Yeah, that's incredible though. Because I was watching specifically your story. You kept a really close eye on like, how things were breaking down.
Yeah, well, it was happening last night. Like it was happening, and I was like, you see fires in California all the time, but I guess sometimes you don't realize how vulnerable they are. Like I don't know. I guess living in Toronto, we don't have to worry about that. At least not in the winter. But yeah, you don't realize like all this stuff can burn, and it's a very historical place. Obviously, the Magic Castle, it has its own history, but the building itself is built in 1908, I believe, and it's it's a historic landmark. Everybody in LA knows it. It's one of the most famous places, and yeah, I was just so anxious, refreshing my timeline, like, oh man, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, no kidding, man. I was watching through you watching.
Yeah, I was.
And I'm sure many others as well.
Because you do have the thought, like, what if it does burn down?
Yeah, exactly. Like that sucks. That's a big loss for the world of magic.
It would be a big loss. But it would also give them an opportunity to rebuild.
Yeah, because I personally have never been there. I know you've performed there, a lot. That is a dream of mine to one day perform there.
Yeah, it's a great place, man.
For it to burn down, that was like one of those things where I was like, dang, I may never get a chance to perform there. And now that it survived, it's like, okay, I need to go perform there
Yeah.
ASAP now, man.
Yeah.
Like these things are just, I mean, they're fleeting. They can go away pretty quickly. You
That's-
don't even think about that.
Even before we started this podcast, we were talking about Japan a bit, and there's magic bars that got shut down during COVID
Oh yeah.
that they're just closed, like they're gone. And I've never been to Japan, and I'm like, I'll
There's
never
still
be
a
able.
lot of magic bars left though.
I know, but there's some places where I'm like, I'll never be able to go there. Like it's just done. And I can say honestly, I never regret doing something. I regret not doing something when I have the chance. There's just different places, different people that you want to meet, and you got to do it while they're around, because especially in magic,
Oh yeah.
things aren't lasting forever, and people aren't lasting forever, and
Yes.
so many great
That's
magicians.
Exactly what we were talking about the other day, man.
Yeah.
Because you were in Spain recently. Are you able to talk about
Yeah, sure.
your time there? Because you've done a lot of traveling in the last little while. You had a crazy busy December, and one of the magicians rather that you saw during all this time is none other than Juan Tamariz.
Yeah, Juan is amazing, honestly. So Juan, I don't know. I'll just talk about Juan, because to me he's a really, I don't know. He's a very special guy. Well, when I first heard about Juan Tamariz, I didn't know anything about him. Some magicians sent me some videos, and I really didn't care for it. I was just like, oh, I don't understand it. He has a weird accent, and he looks quite silly, and just doing stuff that did not appeal to me at that time. I didn't get it, and he was performing at a convention that I wanted to go to. It was the first magic convention that I went to, called MagicCon. This was back in 2010, and he was the guest of honor. And I didn't go there to see him. I went there because I heard that I believe I heard that David Blaine was going to be there. So I'm like, I want to go to MagicCon to see David Blaine. Like, even though he wasn't performing, or like, this is one of my heroes. I want to go.
You can just meet him.
So I went there, and yes, I saw David Blaine. We'll save that for another time. But anyways, Juan Tamariz was there, and that first night, I didn't really know much about him, but everybody was telling me, oh, this is the guy you got to see. And he did this session that lasted, I don't know, felt like, it honestly felt endless. It just felt, but it probably around 2 hours or maybe 2.5 hours, I'm not sure, where we were just surrounding Juan, and he was at a table, and it was a group of magicians, I don't know, 50 or 100 magicians. And there's probably some photos or video back then that you can barely see me in, because I'm like right behind Juan or on the side or something. And just watching him do magic, just having my mind blown, and not knowing how anything worked, not knowing that any of this stuff was possible with card magic, but also having this, I don't even know how to describe the feeling, but it was just a really special moment for me. And I remember I was 20 years old, and I said to myself, this is what I want to do. Like, that night I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, because when you're a magician, you're sometimes like, unfortunately, there's like a little shame associated with magic. People are like, oh, you're a magician? Like, oh, like, what's that for a job? Right? Like, that's how I felt about like telling people, this is what I want to do with my life, because people don't take it seriously. But seeing Juan do it in that way, I had a different feeling about it. I felt like there was like a respect and love communicated, that I wasn't afraid to say I want to be a magician after that night. I was like, oh yeah, this is what magic can be. And
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Wow. That was the inception of the idea in your mind.
Yes. And then, anyways, I've been.
Was there a specific like moment or trick, or just the whole?
No, just the experience. Like after that, well, it was very funny. So after that, I was blown away. After that, I went to bed. I was sharing a hotel room with a bunch of magicians from Toronto, actually. and, and then I took the elevator up with David Blaine. It was like super awkward. I'm like, oh, hey, I'm a big fan. And he's like, nice. I'm like, okay. Anyways. But it was just when I went to bed that night, I had this sensation of like just this pure euphoria, like this excitement, and it wasn't any trick or anything. It was just, I guess, being surrounded by people who actually were doing magic successfully and who were at a high level of magic, but also like the stuff that they communicated through what they were doing. I was like, there's an actual path to make a life out of this. Like it doesn't just need to be something that you do for fun or something that you do as a hobby. You can actually do it seriously and people take it seriously, and that was like just I don't know how to describe it, but it was just a sensation.
Yeah.
So that was my first real experience with Juan.
Wow.
Like it's been
first of many.
Yeah.
And now correct me if I'm wrong, I think since then you've gone maybe almost a dozen times, I think. Something
I've seen
like
Juan
that. Like
a lot of times. I've seen him at conventions, but the place that I've mostly seen him is in Spain. He has a little conference that he does called Jornadas de Carta Magia del Escorial. It's like the card magic days in Escorial.
Oh, okay.
Or days of card magic in Escorial.
Days of card magic. Oh, cool.
But technically it's the nights because Juan sleeps during the day.
Okay.
And it's amazing. It's a small group of mostly card magicians, and there's topics every year. And he's been running it for many, many years. I don't even remember how many years, but many decades. And many great magicians have gone there throughout the years. And the sessions start, I guess, actually the sessions start all day because the regular magicians are on regular time. So we wake up in the morning and we'll go around the town and eat and drink and talk about magic, how it is when you're with magicians. And then Juan wakes up when he wakes up, which is usually the afternoon or evening. And then when he wakes up, it begins,
Okay.
And
whenever he
wakes up, wakes up, he walks into the room, and everyone's like, "Okay, I guess it's starting." and then he introduces, the topics, and then people just share different historical things on the topics and their ideas, and it's an amazing weekend. And so that's where I usually see Juan, and he does that every October, and it's great because he also has his birthday around the same time at the end of October. I forget the day exactly, but he does a birthday party, which is amazing because he'll invite all these magicians to come perform at his birthday party, and he'll perform. And so you're just in a room with like all these people from Spain and from Europe, from all over the world, and they're all performing magic on stage, and it's just incredible. And Juan is very special because usually when you have a famous magician, they're not necessarily a great magician. There's a lot of things that make somebody famous. You could have somebody in magic who is a very well-known magician, but the magicians will look at him or her and say, okay, well, this is like a marketing thing. They're not actually like that. They're not that great. That's just how it is. But with Juan, you have this thing where he actually is a truly spectacular magician, creative-minded magic. He's written so many books and come up with so many things that magicians all over the world use, and he's a deep thinker of magic. He's a performer. He's just everything, and it's very rare that you have somebody at a high level in the magic community, like as a thinker and creator, and they're also very famous,
Yeah.
in their country. And walking around with Juan in Spain is it's insane. Everybody knows who he
Oh, yeah?
is. Like when he's walking on the street, like I remember once we were walking outside of a nightclub, and it's all young people like trying to get in the in the nightclub, right? Like
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
they're dressed up to go clubbing. And we're walking with Juan down the street, and you can see like the music's pounding and stuff, and people are talking, drinking, and then like you'll notice a wave of people, like everybody just realize, oh my gosh, it's Juan. And then you'll hear the whisper, and then everyone will turn, oh my gosh, it's Juan. And you have this old guy who all these young people are dressed to go clubbing, and they want to take photos and shake his hand and everything. And it's the same thing when he walks into a restaurant. Like people will be talking, and you'll have the restaurant noise happening, and then when he walks in the door, you'll notice like everybody like it slowly stops, and everyone's like starts, oh my gosh, it's like everybody starts
They
whispering
know.
that it's Juan, oh my gosh. And then like
Oh.
everybody's just sort of watching, like
Yeah.
here's the most famous magician in the country who just walked into the restaurant. And he's very famous in Spain because he did a lot of good magic on TV, but also he was one of the first people doing magic on TV in Spain, if not the first. When he first started doing magic on TV, I think there was only one TV channel because of the government at that time. It was run by a man named Franco, who had a style of government that a lot of people now disagree with, and very complicated, but basically it was a very restricted society, and they had like a government TV channel. And one was into filmmaking, and he was working on TV, and he somehow convinced the producers to allow him to do magic on TV, and it worked out well, and they're like, hey, maybe you can do a TV show. So he was doing magic on TV on the one channel that the whole country had access to. And so like in a regular TV series now here in North America, like a big TV show, you'll have maybe 3 million viewers. Now it's different with streaming, obviously, but back when it was just cable, you'd have like 3 to 5 million viewers on a relatively big TV show.
Right.
On a regular, like on a weekly basis. But imagine that times, I don't know, like the whole
right.
country, they
Because
don't
now
have a
they're
choice of
limited.
what to watch. They're just watching
Exactly.
that one thing.
Ooh.
And so everybody knew who he was for
Wow,
years.
the reach of that back then, hey?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah.
They have a similar situation in China. China has more than one TV channel, but they have their big networks. I forget what it's called. And every year they have a Chinese Spring Gala, which is like it's their big celebration for the year. I'm not too sure what it's about, but it's Spring Gala. And there's some magicians who will perform on it. And they'll have an audience of like 1 billion people. Like 1 billion people will
That's crazy.
will tune in because everybody's at
That's
home.
the show to get on.
Yeah,
One billion smiles in one go.
the magicians who have been on that in China, that's like made their career. So like you only have to be on that once, and
Like
you're
Lu
like,
Chen.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yes. There's a few others, but they become like instantly recognizable.
Who else came out of there? Because all I can think of is Lu Chen, and then that's really it. And I guess I want to say Cyril, but Cyril's in Japan, right?
Not Cyril. Cyril's in Japan.
That's not
There's
really the
other
same.
big Chinese magicians. I don't think as big as Lu Chen, but there's been some magic TV shows in China that have been pretty big. but not as big as Lu Chen. Lu Chen,
Right, because
I-
there's I think the guy from Canada, Will something, went down there.
Will Zhang or Will.
I forget. Yeah, he went there. There's a bunch of guys in Vancouver. Jason Yu, he's one of the guys. I think he created some stuff for him. Herman Huang. I think they all worked on some stuff in China.
Well,
But anyways, yeah.
I've worked on some TV there. There's been big TV shows and big shows. It's a huge market. But again,
It's incredible though.
It's-
1 billion just on that network. I mean, that's probably through WeChat then, hey?
it's
Because they have that
their
app.
own social media. It's not WeChat. They have their own like
Because WeChat's everything.
alternatives.
That's like their one app where everything's
They're-
in.
No, they have more
That's
though. They
different?
have like their own version of YouTube. They have their own they have different apps. I know what you mean WeChat, but there's more than WeChat. They have their own sort of ecosystem, but it's the same in a lot of countries. Like Korea has its own ecosystem. They have their own apps, their own everything. But it's very interesting because, sorry, I'm just like
It's okay.
all over the place.
No,
but
it's okay. Yeah, it all stemmed from Juan and being famous
yeah,
magicians.
but
you
it's
know?
really great if you can have a market that you can become known in. Like Juan Tamariz is not known outside of the Spanish-speaking world to the public.
Right.
To magicians, they know him.
Yeah.
But to the public, he's known in Spain and in Latin
He's got
America.
his two niches. One is the Spanish audience in Spain, and his other niche is magicians.
Well, also Latin America. So all South America and Mexico knows
They know
Juan.
him.
Yeah,
Every
because-
Spanish speaking.
Yeah,
country.
Spanish speaking, because
Okay.
he's been invited to all those countries to perform on their TV
got
shows, and because they have Spanish TV shows, they will license it out to those other countries. But it is interesting. There's some people who are able to corner different markets and do very well. Here in Canada, there's I don't know if he's still famous, but for quite a while there was a very successful French Canadian magician called Luc. I'm gonna butcher his name, Luc Langevin or something, but very, very big. He had multiple TV shows in Quebec that were regularly on Quebec television in French. He had a bunch
Probably
of.
why I haven't heard about it, because I grew up out west, and we're so separate.
Nobody
from that.
outside of French, nobody outside of Quebec really knows about it.
Oh, not even. Well, okay, right.
Because I think France doesn't really buy Quebec stuff.
No, because the French is different still.
It is a different French.
Yeah.
And they're very actually I don't want to spot the French from France don't like the Quebec interpretation of French.
Interpretation. Oh,
But
yeah.
he was very popular, working very big gigs there and very successful, and he had huge corporate sponsors. Like he was the official magician of Tim Hortons.
Okay.
Like
That's pretty good.
And it was
Wow.
very like surreal watching like him going into Tim Hortons and doing magic with the Tim Hortons thing, and they're like the sponsor of the TV show, and it's weird as a Canadian to see that, but you're like, oh, this is so cool. But anyways, there's a lesson there, whether it's Juan Tamariz or Luke, or there's different magicians in different countries where they have really cornered their market. Like they've become the biggest magician in their country, and their country has Quebec is not a country yet. I would like to be, but
yeah.
but anyways, these markets, people have been able to go inside and really figure out how to corner them and become the biggest thing there. There's some Japanese magicians like Cyril who have done it in Japan, and Cyril gets some work outside of Japan. He works in some other Asian countries, but in Japan, he for a very long time was I think the most famous and most successful magician, and it's very interesting. If you look at different countries, you might not think like, oh, maybe there's not. Everybody looks at America and like North America, like, oh, this is the place to be. But there's actually a lot of places that might have less competition that somebody could dominate. Like, there's certain magicians who I know who are sort of like the kings in their country. They're like, they're literally the top of the food chain in their country. They're like the most famous magician in that country. They get all the good work. Everybody wants them because, they're the most famous person in that country. If that makes sense.
It does. Makes perfect sense. And I guess there's even like countries out there where you don't really necessarily need to speak the language because they are bilingual. They'll speak English already. So
yeah. And a lot of these magicians, by the way, are people that you've probably never heard of because there's a lot of countries in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
190 something.
There's a lot of countries, and even sometimes I'll go to a country or I'll be speaking to a magician from a different country and I'll be like, or they'll point towards, they'll point at a magician and be like, oh, have you seen this guy? This is the most famous person in our country. I have no idea who they are. And I looked them up. I'm like, wow, they're really big in France or they're really big in, wherever.
Yeah,
and
Netherlands or
it's not as big.
Insert any country.
And we're not a big country, but I feel like.
Who would be the biggest one in Canada?
No, I don't know.
Hey.
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. Canada is a little bit different because we sort of absorbed the American culture.
We kind of are that 51st state, like they're saying. We kind of are already without trying to be,
Yeah. It's but we absorb the American culture. So like, you don't look at like who's the most famous singer from Canada.
True.
You're like, Justin Bieber's not living up here.
No, but he's he was biggest at one point. It's interesting too. Like a lot of Canadians end up being the biggest in America. Like a lot of the top stars for other
what
industries.
It is, but sometimes I feel like Canada. Actually, this is a piece of advice for everybody. You will never be appreciated from where you're from until you make it somewhere else. Like I feel like, even if we look at some examples from here, like look at somebody like Drake, which is from this part of the world. He would not be appreciated here if he was not. And I think they make a bigger deal out of him, like in Toronto, because he came from Toronto. So everyone's like, oh, Drake. It's like the rest of the world, I don't think they really care that much about Drake. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Could be wrong. But I feel like, people want to be proud of people where they are, but they need to become successful somewhere else for people. Like it's like I don't know what it is about Canada, but it's like we're looking for some sort of external validation. Like we want to see the rest of the world say that this guy is good or important or special before we're like, oh yeah, he's good.
Right. And then all of a sudden now they're like, oh, I knew it the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though they're like secretly rooting against you or something,
Yeah, honestly.
It's interesting. I have seen some of this already just because I'm from Saskatoon and, moving here to Toronto, I do see, and I mean, it's just within the same country, but just the fact that I've moved to Toronto, a lot of people back in Saskatoon, they all look at that as like, oh, you're doing it.
Yeah.
But when I was still in Saskatoon, it was like, they're like, oh yeah.
Well,
this is your side thing. But no, it was always my full thing. But yeah, no, I see it at a smaller scale of what you're saying.
Yeah. What did they say in the Bible? A prophet has no. What's the word I'm looking for?
A prophet has no. We don't have a Jamie to look this up, but I can look it up.
A prophet, basically a prophet doesn't get appreciated in their own country. A prophet has no,
Is not without honor.
without honor. Yes.
Mark 6:4.
What does it say?
All right, we're getting holy here. Hold on. Mark.
Well, we're going biblical.
Oh yeah. Okay. Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor, except in his own town, among his relatives, and in his own home."
Yeah. So actually, this not only applies. So I think this applies to people generally in the world. You're not really appreciated where you're from, but I think in magic there's another element, which I'll get into. There's a stranger element that has to be sort of appreciated. But anyways, basically, you are not going to be recognized where you're from because people are a little too used to you.
Mm.
You know, they're the more time people spend time with you, the more you're around them, you are less of a mystery. They look at you, probably they see you as you are rather than where you're going sometimes. So there's something psychological where sometimes you do need a little bit of distance and a little bit of mystery for people to respect you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or to respect you more. And it's just also a thing in magic. Like a lot of magicians will perform magic for their friends or their family, and they will not have the same ability to do it as well as in front of strangers. And
Yep.
it's just purely psychological. Like your friends or your family or, you know, whoever you're spending time with gets to see you in different situations and environment, and there's an element of mystery removed. So right away when you're trying to perform magic to them, and maybe it's mysterious or maybe whatever, there's a little bit too much familiarity where it's incongruent with the magic persona or
Right.
the mystery of the magic.
Of who they've already painted a picture
Yeah.
of. Like they know you, they have this image of you, and now this new image that doesn't line up with what they already have in their mind.
Exactly.
So in order to change that in their mind, you got to go somewhere else, create it, then they see it from a distance, and then you can bring it back.
Yes.
Hmm.
So, but you know, that doesn't mean as a magician that you need to be so mysterious that people don't know anything about you. There's been great magicians like David Blaine who have been on TV for many, many years, and he's still able to have that sense of mystery about him because you already know he's always working on something new and exciting or going to some, you know, weird or obscure part of the world to do something crazy. And so even though we've got to see him over the years and he's told stories about growing up and his mom and learning magic and all these different stuff, he's still able to maintain that mystery. So like, yeah, I think as magicians, we need to realize that there is something really psychological there where you kind of have to get away a little bit for people to have a more positive experience with what you're doing, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, man. You see it a lot where, you know, whether it's just the corporate world for gigs, you know, in the magic world, entertainment, where if they fly someone in, they're like, as the person that organizes the event, they feel a lot more proud. They're like, hey, we're flying this guy in from insert place.
Absolutely.
It's like they're not local, and it's like it's
familiarity
weird.
breeds contempt. You know, like one of the big problems that people had during the pandemic, a lot of people had breakups and different stuff going on. But it was just people spending too much time with other people. And, you know, when you're spending too much time with people sometimes, it's not good for you. Like you'll just get annoyed by things that wouldn't annoy you otherwise, or you're just so anyways, there's a whole psychological thing in this. But yes, as magicians, as people who are trying to bring values through what we're doing with our art and whatever it is we're trying to create, maybe it's good to disappear sometimes, not be not be always in everybody's face. You know, like you don't want to be at a point where somebody sees you. Like, you ever see a magician just perform too much magic and they're like, this guy again, you know, like he's got another one, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. When you just perform that,
we have to
too many tricks.
We have to know
we're good. Like, read the room.
When to disappear. You know, they say it's an old show business maxim: leave them wanting more. And I think that's a very good life, not only for a very good rule, not only for life but for magic as well. Just, you know, give people a good experience, have it limited, and then just get out of there. Get out of there before they change their mind.
Dude.
Get out of there before they change their mind.
That's so funny that you say that, because, like, I agree. You want to leave them wanting more.
Yeah.
I had a client.
The worst thing is when, like, somebody sees you do magic and they think you're a great magician, and then you just do more magic until they change their mind. You're like, ah.
Yeah, you don't want that. I had a client, Christmas party. You know, I hired me for an hour. I performed for an hour. Killed it. Everyone was laughing. They loved it. Rave reviews. When I got the organizer to write a review, 4 stars out of 5. His reason: show wasn't long enough. I was left wanting more, is what he said.
Well,
it should be 5 then, right? Left wanting more means it was so good you won't.
It's a balancing act. It's really a balancing act. Honestly, it really is. But generally speaking, it's better to leave them wanting more, because you don't want them. You want them to feel like every single time. And this is only for magic. This is for life. You want people to like. Think about the movie The Lord of the Rings when Gandalf comes into town. Like, everybody's excited. They're not like, you know, nobody in the Hobbiton, whatever it's called, the Shire. Nobody's like, oh, there's that lame magician rolling up in his ghetto wagon, you know, doing some more tricks. No, everybody's running. Oh my gosh, it's a wizard. Oh, what's he gonna do? It's exciting. And why is that? It's because Gandalf has stuff to do. He's not around always. He pops in when he pops in, and he disappears when he disappears. And, you know, like, whenever he comes, it's a special thing. You know, he's
never early or late. He's always exactly when he means to be.
Yeah. So I think as magicians, and that's why magicians, like, have traditionally toured. Probably it's only a very recent things that you have magicians having a residency in a city. Traditionally, magicians have toured. They've gone where they've gone. They've done their shows, and then they were off to another place, and they might not have been back for a year or 2 years or however long it takes. Because, well, one, the size of the shows that they were doing, like the audience size, but it's really hard to be in a place doing big things and keeping people, like, entertained. There's so many magicians around the world who have been doing the exact same show for 20 years, and they just always do it in a different place. Obviously, as a magician, you want to have more than one show when you get rebooked somewhere, obviously. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, because that's a different world, man. Because, like, if you know, and when I say that, I want to reference the comedy world, because in the comedy world, they're all about creating their ideal hour, refining that hour, and then putting it out as a special, and then starting new, brand new, and then just like recycling that over and creating, and just like the act of refining a show until it's there, and then saying goodbye to it. Whereas I find in the magic world, there's a lot of the opposite thinking, where it's, you have your show and you can have that, just find a new audience and have that for years and years and years and years, decades even. And it's like, I guess we are different, comedy and magic, but we're also very similar.
No, it's very similar. Like, people do want to do new shows. You have to do new shows because everything has a life cycle. Like, especially now with video, and it's the same with audio for comedians. Back before they had specials, they would, have cassettes and stuff that they'd sell stuff on. Wait, what do
you mean? Comedians would sell cassettes?
Yeah, like back in the day,
okay.
They'd record their, like, you could buy it on cassette, like a comedian would have his.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, okay. Oh, amazing. That's fun.
Yeah.
It's like an audio.
Yeah, it was on audio.
Audio podcast style. Or was it like their act?
Yeah, it was like their act, or it was their act, I think.
Oh, okay. Because I haven't even, I guess they don't, well, now it's the internet, like you said. Yeah. So probably went CDs and then that. Was there something like that for magicians? Where like you go to their show and it's like, oh, here's a VHS of some of my work.
Magic is really hard to experience on video. That's why when David Blaine was performing magic, back when he created his specials, it was such a transformative thing for the art, because before that, there were people who were doing magic on television, and it wasn't that it was bad magic, it was very good magic. But it was not entertaining, usually, for the viewer at home, because the experience of magic, just like the experience of comedy, needs to be refined. What you don't see in the Netflix shows, there's a lot of editing. There's a lot of work that goes on to the camera work in following the person. Like, there's something to be said about capturing the emotion to be able to transmit the energy of what's happening, whether it's a joke or whether it's magic. If you go to a comedy show and you set up a camera in the back of the room and you just film it, and even if you have good audio, like you're getting the audio feed from his mic, the energy is not there. You can listen to it. It's going to be funny. It's going to be whatever, but you're not going to have the same experience as when the guys who are really good at producing this stuff come in and film it in the right way and edit it in the right way to give you the best experience of them delivering those jokes. And our attention when we're watching stuff is much shorter than live. That's why, in magic and everything's so finely edited, because in life you can get away with dead time. Not every moment matters.
Just the fact that it's live.
Yeah.
Piques people's interest of what's happening next.
Well, also, I don't know, there's an expectation that when we're watching something on a screen, like, we're devoting our time to it. Whereas, like, when we're not looking at a screen, we're just sort of like living life. Like, oh, maybe this person has to go to the restroom and I'm by myself at the restaurant for 5 minutes. You're not, you can't switch channels. You're just there, and you're,
This is life.
It's
this
life.
Is my channel.
Exactly. I don't know what I was saying, but anyways.
Well, yeah, it's just there's the refinement and retention. Retention editing, I think, is what they call it nowadays, where they're editing to keep people's attention on the internet.
But it's not only the retention. It's like it's crafting the experience through the editing. And anyways, that's what David Blaine was very good at, and making it more about the people than the magic tricks. If you watch David Blaine's TV shows, which are all brilliant, there's a lot of repetition in the magic, which the TV shows before that, you would not see repetition in the magic because it would have no functional point. Seeing an illusion done 3 different times by the magician on stage in front of an audience who's watching in a theater does nothing for the audience. But when you're seeing people react, and maybe this person's laughing and this person's crying, this person's screaming, jumping up and down, there's now that novelty of what's going to happen with this person. How are they going to react to this? And we're having our interest maintained through seeing how other people are going to react, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
So there's a lot
and that's where the relatability comes in too, because I noticed it's tougher to relate to an audience when it's just performed to a camera. I mean, of course you can. It takes a higher skill to do something like that, but a lay person watching magic, there's nothing to relate to there. But as soon as you have someone freaking out watching it, it's like, oh, that could be me. So now they don't have to relate to the magician; they can relate to the people watching. And there's more of that human aspect, because like magicians always, I mean, this comes with the job. We make it seem like this is not possible. No one can do this except for the magician, and that inherently is not relatable. So yeah, I love that that Blaine shifted the focus onto the people, onto his spectators. I wonder what the next iteration, the next level of all of that's going to be, because Blaine came in and changed that, and now that's a very popular medium. It's going to happen again, right?
I think we're still in that age of that style of magic. I don't think it gets old. I think there's been a lot of problems with magicians who have come after David Blaine and tried to copy him. And I think they didn't understand how David Blaine was filming the magic and editing it, and also the experience of magic for the viewer. Yes, people want to see people reacting, but the magic still needs to be entertaining. And so there were a lot of people who came after David Blaine who did have TV shows, but because it was a TV show, they were making, and anything is possible with TV, they were doing stuff where they were cheating a little bit too much, because you can do a lot with TV, but it doesn't add to the magical experience. There's a certain point where it actually turns against you. And it's not that the magic needs to be plausible for it to be exciting, but there's just, it's a feeling of, this isn't fun anymore. This isn't exciting. Like, it just feels like, it feels like somebody's just cheating, and that's not fun for people to watch, because the audience has a relationship of trust with the magician, and they say to the magician in their minds, I'm going to give you the time of the day if you can entertain me. But through entertaining me, I have certain expectations that you're going to follow the rules. The rules are, the person that you're performing magic to is real. They're not a stooge. And more or less what we're seeing is what we would see if we would see you be performing this live.
Right.
And magicians have violated that using actors and actresses and just abusing the whole concept. So when you see the final product, you're like, this is not, there's something about it that's off. And
where now the illusion is that it was real. That's the illusion.
Yeah.
It's no longer the trick. That's the illusion.
I don't know. It just feels off. Like, and some people, I don't want to name anybody, but there's some magicians who have become quite famous using stooges and using different stuff, and
Right.
people that I know.
when they're doing things and the person reacting is on their shoulder seeing, but if they truly are reacting, they're seeing everything, because
Yes,
this is what
but
you're not supposed to see on
even
this side.
even bigger stuff for TV shows where people have actually been using like it's like if you said, okay, stand up, and we're on cement, we're on the street, and they say, okay, I'm going to put this curtain over you, and you just disappear,
Okay.
apparently into the cement. And
Got it.
you're watching it, and then they transport, to another place. You're watching it, and you're like, this isn't possible. When you're watching it, and it's not that magic needs to be possible to be exciting, but there needs to be it needs to play with people's imagination in some way. It just, if you're just cheating, it's not interesting. Like, and anyways, but sometimes the audience experience, for whatever reason, is not ruined by this. I don't know how, but I have people who come up to me all the time, friends of mine, who will send me clips of a magician who I might not think they're a good magician, and they'll be cheating. They'll have stooges. They'll have, they'll be cheating dirty.
The illusion is that they're a magician. They're not. Okay.
They'll be doing dirty. And this person, a friend, will send me a video, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is amazing. Do you know how this works?"
Mm.
And like, I don't want to ruin their experience by saying, "Oh, this is a stooge." Like, the person's actually an actor, and it's all fake.
Right.
But I look at it and I'm like, this is nonsense.
Yeah.
But
I know what you mean.
people still can have a good experience from it. It's just, for me, like, it's not what I want to be doing. I want to be doing magic in a way that I can feel good about.
Right.
Like, we live in a world where you can do anything with editing. You can do anything with special effects. What's the point if the audience catches on and they're like, oh, this person just uses a green screen for everything? There's a magician, not a magician, but there's a guy, Zach King, who has a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Who quite clearly that it's not real magic.
It's not real magic, but
it's amazing.
It's interesting for the audience because the guy is not presenting it as if he's a magician. Like, if Zach King was presenting what he was doing as a magician, was presenting a trick, it would become absurd.
Yeah, but he's more of a character in a different world.
Yes, but you're enjoying it with the expectation that he's cheating using visual trickery, and it's entertaining to watch because you're still amazed by how it works. You can't imagine how it works, even though it's CGI, special effects, stuff like that, camera tricks. You don't know how it works. It fools you. It's still interesting because you're being fooled like that. But it's a very different thing if a magician is pretending to do something like that and it's all fake, and you're like, it's I don't know. There's a difference.
Yeah, you can feel. We're human, right? As soon as we smell fake, we can quite literally smell it. It's
but
like,
the audience, when they watch Zach King, you can see that appreciation for the difficulty in what he's doing, the technical, like, mastery that he has over his craft. There's nobody watching it who's thinking this is real. This is real magic.
Right.
So that, I think that's it's a different thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's definitely carved his own lane.
Yeah. So again,
there's some magic principles that he's used, in different things, so
magic. But again, where's magic going? There's a lot of places magic could go. It's up to everybody to decide, like, how they want to present stuff. One of the big realizations that I had in my life as well is that even though there's a lot of different lanes that you can take and you can do different stuff that's successful or unsuccessful for different reasons, it's very important that you're doing the work that you actually want to be doing in life. Because if you're not, you're literally wasting your life. You can do magic or anything you want to be doing in a way that you don't really like or care for, but that's making you money. And you can do that and you'll make money or whatever. It depends on what your priorities are. But you will very quickly spend years of your life doing something that you might not care for. And, you know, I think I think it could be a devastating thing for people to spend years of their life doing something in a way that they don't enjoy. And, you know, like if you don't enjoy what you're doing and it's not the work that you want to be doing, why are you doing it? You know, it's like, so that was a big realization for me recently where I'm like, I want to be doing stuff, but I want to be doing it in a way that I want to be doing it, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, we want to feel fulfilled in what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and if we're doing something that we don't have the passion for, then it just feels more like a job.
Yeah.
And then in the sense of, oh, it's just something I'm doing for money, you know, as opposed to a career where it's like, this is what I do. I just happen to make money doing it.
Yes. So I would say for magicians, like whatever it is that you want to be doing, just be aware that whatever you do becomes your life. And it's very scary to think about, to be quite honest, because you very quickly look at what it is that you're doing and you understand like, okay, maybe this isn't what I want to be doing with my life. Maybe I've sort of gone off track in some way. And so it's a good thing to every once in a while just look at the grand picture and be like, I want to be doing this in another way. You know, I'm more happy with myself if I'm doing it this way. And yeah, because whatever it is you're doing, it becomes your life. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, man, we quite literally live our magic.
Yeah.
It becomes our identity. And yeah. I mean, sometimes it becomes people's identities and they're not even a full-time magician yet. And it's as if they don't even do their regular day job.
Yes. Just a note to add, without telling this person's story, because it's not my story to tell, but I had a conversation with a friend who had opened up a magic venue. I don't want to go into who it is or where it is or what, but they worked very hard on making it very successful, but it got to the point where they were running, instead of doing the shows that they wanted to do in this magical place that they had created, they were just essentially a manager of a thing, running a business, and not living their dream.
Their role changed. Their job changed.
So there's a lot that goes into, like, be careful what it is that you want to build and figure out how you want to build it, because you can end up doing a lot of stuff that takes you away from the passion and vision of how you want to be living your life.
Dude, I get it. It's like right now I'm a sales manager for my company.
I'm a salesman.
You know, like I got my sales team who are on the phones booking shows for me, right? I manage them, and that's basically my I'm training, exactly, of course, performing, because if that's the product. I'm in the fulfillment as well. I fulfill the service of performing and entertaining everybody. But then on the acquisition side, yeah, I'm managing. But we wear so many hats in our businesses. You know, we have to wear all the hats until we find the people to take over.
You're gonna have to make compromises. Because
eventually, I won't be a sales manager. Someone will fill that role.
It's something to be aware of, because it's very easy in life to get stuck into these grinds where you're just used to doing everything, and it might not be the most effective. Like, there's a certain point where the work needs to be done, but it might not be the work that you want to spend your life doing. So, like, there's certain you know, it's a balancing act.
Fair.
It's
Fair. I mean, do you want to maybe speak on something recently? Like, have you experienced something like that? And can you share a story of that?
um
Something similar, perhaps?
yeah, sure. I'll give you an example. Like, so we did a run of magic shows at a theater here in Toronto, which was great. We had a lot of fun and we learned a lot. And you know, I had a lot of jobs, but my main priority was making sure that people came to the shows. And you spend a lot of time running around doing a lot of stuff that you don't really care to be doing, but that needs to be done. Like, I was committed to making sure things were successful, and I'm fine with that. But when you have to have moments where you reflect on where it's like, okay, I might not want to spend um, X amount of hours putting up posters or, you know, doing this because that's not what I want to be doing with my life,
Right.
right? Or, you know, anyways, it's not just posters. There's a
Just
bunch
a
of
sample,
stuff.
example,
There's
yeah.
just a bunch of stuff, but you know, it's really hard when you are trying to make something come true, and it's like this with everything. And that's why it's really important. I'm not so good at it, but it's very important to find the right people and build a team that you can sort of mentally ingrain your vision and belief into so that they can do the work that you want to be doing, but that you don't have the time to do because you can't do everything.
Right.
So, you know, that's something that I probably need to get better at in my life. But again, it's very hard because we all have our sort of unique vision and it's in our mind, and at the end of the day you don't know what anybody else is thinking, if they care about stuff as much as you, or you know, like, or sometimes you just feel like maybe you'll do a better job, or you know, like you just don't know. So there's a lot of things. And I don't know, I guess even the biggest companies have all these problems. Like, nobody, you know, and the company's solution is to put all these rules and regulations, like, okay, you only have X amount of breaks, and we're going to audit you. Like, how many, you know, like if they're working on Amazon, how many boxes did they put on, how many scans do they have per hour, like moving stuff on the shelf? They try to measure stuff to get performance out of people, but like, it's really hard because, you know, like, you maybe there's different reasons why people do things. You know, some people do a job for money, some people do a job because they want to do a good job, and you need to figure out how the heck you're going to organize your vision into something that's feasible, because there's so many different ways to do things, but it's very easy to get wrong, and it's very easy to, you know, get off
Right.
track.
And sometimes, yeah, it's very easy to start doing things that maybe don't even need to be done. And it's like you're just spinning your wheels in place, and, you know, being able to prioritize what you need, what you should do next. What's the best thing that's going to get me where I'm going?
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing to do right now?
The biggest thing is usually to it's usually the best thing to focus on the thing that matters. There's probably 50 or 100 things that we could all do to help us in our business and our lives and our visions, whatever we want to do. And those things all make a difference, but right now they don't matter. They'll make a difference. But right now they don't matter because there's something more important. So I think we all need to sort of identify what that important thing is and focus on it. And sort of just, you can get around to that other stuff later, but there's probably a bigger priority, right? So, you know, I think part of becoming an adult is just figuring out like like what should I actually prioritize? Like what actually matters? Like yeah, a lot of stuff matters, but some stuff doesn't matter as much as other things.
Mm.
You know,
I love it. And also just a quick side note for magicians out there, if you want one thing that's going to change what you make in your business, just charge more. It's the easiest thing you can do right now to make more. But anyways, Mahdi, you have so many stories, so many adventures in your life that you, we were talking before, and you know, you wish some of these things were documented.
I'm glad a lot of them were not documented. I'm glad there's no record of some of these things.
But you're about to start something. You're going down this new path. We're in yet another hat. What can you tell us about your next thing that you're going to be focusing on? That I just think we subtly alluding to.
Yeah, I think we just live in a digital landscape. You know, like what we're doing here is digital. You can have a lot of conversations with people and do a lot of stuff, but finding your people and people who are actually going to become committed to your vision and what you're trying to build is probably more important than just performing magic for people. I can honestly say that I have performed magic for countless people, like ridiculous numbers of people, live in person, just, you know, different shows. It builds up, but oftentimes people are just looking for entertainment for that night, or it's part of they're at a party, their company's throwing a party, whatever, and you're there, you're not there. They can have a great experience with you, and maybe they stay in touch, maybe they don't, but what I have been building hasn't been designed to bring people to my world. And there's a lot of stuff that I want to build and communicate, almost like a community, but you know, community is not a cult or anything, but basically a place.
It is a cult. I'm just kidding.
It is a cult. It's a cult. It's actually a pyramid scheme.
Oh, can I come to your meeting?
Yes. You're actually, well, you have to come, but you have to bring 10 friends. That's one of the.
No problem. No problem. You guys just join.
Got a lot of Tupperware to sell. A lot. But basically, yeah, you can do a lot of stuff. Actually, I'll use David Copperfield as an example. And I think David Copperfield is a really brilliant guy on a lot of, for a lot of reasons. I just think he's a very smart guy. But I look at David Copperfield and I wonder mind you, David Copperfield this year is going to make more money than I'm ever going to make in my life. So if you want to make money, don't listen to me. But there's something about David Copperfield where the world has moved on from the way that he is doing things. He's a fantastic magician. He has such a great body of work, literally dozens of TV specials and all sorts of stuff that he's done, and all sorts of different cool projects that he's done. But he's sort of like a figure in the past, and some people go see him when they go to Las Vegas, and they can see his show there, or sometimes he tours. But he has such a fascinating world. He has one of the biggest collections of magic in the world. There's so much interesting stuff, but there's no way for people to connect with it. Like, if you want to connect with David Copperfield today, the only way that you can have any access to him is to go to Las Vegas and see his show. It's the only way that you can really interface with David Copperfield, which is truly a tragedy. So anyways, why I bring him up is, like, I want to have ways for people to interface with me, even though We're in different countries. Even though they never get to meet me, see me in person, they can still check in every day or every week or every month and spend time with me and experience my magic and my world. And what I'm obviously alluding to is the internet, because that's where people are. But again, it's about creating the things that you want to create, but also having creating a space where people can actually interface with your work, because otherwise you sort of just be you're sort of cut off from the world. And it can be great for some things, mind you. I mean, David Copperfield makes a lot of money and he has a great show, and I think he's doing a lot of stuff right. But for me, as a fan of David Copperfield, I would love if I could go on the internet right now and I have a notification from David Copperfield, and
Right.
you
Like
can
if he was
see
creating content now.
like a
that'd be
new
cool.
wing of his museum, or he's working on this new illusion, or this is like here's a behind the scenes of this trick, or whatever. Like, it would be so cool, but there's no way to access David Copperfield like that. And because there's no way to access David Copperfield like that, there's a loss of relevancy, and just because people are on the internet and they're seeing what's online, and there's a lot of side effects and consequences of that. So anyways, one of the experiences that I had was running around doing all the stuff in person, thinking I want to be able to, I want people when they come see me, for them to be able to spend the rest of their life with me if they want to. Hypothetically, like, I know that sounds crazy, but there are certain people who I've come in contact with online or whatever, just through whatever it is they're putting out there, and I really like what they're doing, and I might follow them for years. And I might be interested.
Exactly.
Maybe I get interested in this one thing that they're doing, and 5 years later they're doing something else, and maybe I'm interested in that. And
I can think of many people that I follow on social media that 10 plus years now.
Yes. So that has been a big transition in thought for me, because at the end of the day, first of all, I mean, as a business thing, it will help your business as a magician.
Right.
But I think
And
it goes
in regards to Copperfield, like, I know he sells it out already.
Yeah.
So he's already selling out his theater, all that stuff on a nightly basis, multiple times a night. So like, for him to have something like this, I can understand his perspective, whereas like, why would I do that when I'm already selling it out? But at the same time, it's such a great legacy tool to have and also another way for guys newer to the game to sell tickets, so yeah. I just wanted to add that as an aside for
one of the reasons why I fell in love with David Copperfield is, with the old specials and everything, you were going on these adventures with him around the world. You were going on the Orient Express. You were going to the Great Wall of China. You were going to the Bermuda Triangle. You were going to Alcatraz. You were going to all these places, and it was entertaining. There were these things, and then it just sort of like stopped. And it stopped because, for a lot of reasons, David Blaine took over the TV space with a new model that David Copperfield wasn't really able to adapt to, for whatever reason. And it's not his fault. It's just, he wasn't used to it, and things changed. But you have to be aware that there's a bigger change, and that is with this thing now where people are engaging with things that are not just the main product, which is a magic show, or any TV show or whatever. It's the world of it. Like, if you look at anything that's been popular. There's spin-offs. There's different ways to interact with it. Um, you know, you can use Marvel as an example, or Star Wars or whatever. In between the movies that were coming out, even back in the day before Disney owned it, they had comic books and they had novels and they had action figures and toys and video games. So if you were a fan of these things, you had a way where you could interface with this thing that you loved that was outside of the main product, which was like these big movies. And I think as magicians, we have to be thinking about that as well, because and we can do much more than magic. We're magicians. We can be taking people on adventures. We can be showing them cool things about the world that we're discovering, or stuff that nobody knows about, that only magicians know about. And there's just so much there that can be done that is beyond a magic show. And that actually, when I look in the grand scheme of things, I would actually be proud to do. I would be proud to have a body of work where I take people who care about my work on adventures around the world, and that I share what I love with them. Like, these things eventually make up our lives. Like, even looking around your place, or your studio, whatever this is.
Yeah.
What you guys don't see
Hadlen Studios. Yeah.
What you guys don't see on the wall is Hadlen has a bunch of photos up. He has photos of friends and loved ones, and there's different moments of his life that end up making his life. And I just feel like that's so special to be able to capture and share and remember and live. And, if I'm trying to look forward to what I want my life to be, I want my life to be something that is something positive that I'm sharing with people, and that people love to be sharing with me as well. So that is why I'm looking towards the internet these days. And it's not about a popularity thing. It's not about, clicks and likes and all that stuff. It's about actually sharing things with people who care about you and want to spend time with you, even if you don't know them, or even if they've only come to one show, or, seen a video or whatever it is, but they're choosing to spend their time with you. And I think that's a worthwhile way to spend our lives, doing something that we enjoy and that we can share with people who we care about and care about us.
Definitely.
So that's sort of like the grand, the grand vision.
Of course, dude. And I can't wait to watch and stay in touch and be able to see your adventures. And so this is going to be YouTube. Is there other places you're going to be publishing this?
Just everywhere. I don't know. There's a lot of...
Like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many places online. Obviously not everywhere. I said everywhere, but not everywhere.
Facebook.
There's certain websites where my account's not going to be available. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
But there's certain stuff that's going to stay off camera for now.
You're not going to have a live stream of your entire life.
No.
We're not doing a...
No. But I don't know.
That's fun though, man. So you're going to have, like, I guess, vlogs, performances, street performances.
Just everything.
Interactions with people, podcasts.
Everything. Yeah. Because I just want...
Video art.
Yeah, and like, isn't it wonderful to create something that you're actually excited about? Like, I just feel like so much of our work can sometimes devolve into doing stuff that we don't want to be doing, and we have to do it because that's our business. We need to make money. We have a product to sell. I get it, but we also have to enjoy it and do work that we enjoy. Like, we've talked about this a little, even with what you're doing. You have different visions of shows that you want to do and different spaces that you want to work it and create and build stuff in. And that is a very different thing than sometimes just getting booked for a show and going out and doing a show. Um, like we have to earn our bread and butter. We need to work in order to pay bills and to do everything. But there's also a grand vision, and so it's about finding that balancing act in between making a living and then also doing what you love to make a living, but also it allows you to make your dreams come true as well. So that's sort of been sort of the shift in mindset for me. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. That fires me up. That fires me up. I wanna get this episode just immediately out there. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm fired up to do now. I wanna just publish it right away.
We're doing it live.
Not waiting.
He's uploading the raw files. There's no edit.
Right now. That's our latest trick is uploading. It's actually still happening. This is just the yeah, man. So do you have a date in mind? Like when are you going to start this type of thing?
I'm just starting. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting used to documenting everything and figuring out what I want to do with it.
What are you going to call it?
It's just Mahdi. I guess Mahdi
I just
the
thought
magician.
of Maddie's World just now.
Maddie's World? Mad World?
Maddie's World. No, the Mad World.
The Mahdi-verse?
Yeah, there you go. You can join the Hadlen verse. Yeah, wait. Maddie's World. There was a show back when we were kids. Something World.
Wayne's World, maybe?
Yeah. Maddie's World. But yeah. The magic version of Wayne's World.
I think honestly, whatever thing, I probably it's gonna be under Mahdi the Magician. The one thing that I shot myself in the foot using Mahdi the Magician is I don't only want to be a magician, like I just want to be a person as well.
Right.
Like when you're a magician, there's always expectation, like do something.
Yeah. Dance monkey.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think life is long, and who cares what things are named? Like this is called the Magician's Code. Apparently, maybe it's not. Maybe it's gonna be something else.
Yeah. Well,
who cares?
Who knows?
Because
doesn't really matter.
It is what it is. Like
I think it should have, just like on that though, it should have specific branding so that way when people go into the podcast, wherever the podcast is hosted, then they can see visually at a glance that, okay, this is it. I like the Magician's Code. I'm going to watch only those ones. Or I like this version, whatever the other one is for non-magicians. I'll watch that one. I think it'll be good to have it visually different, but still under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
That's just technical stuff. But
I think it doesn't matter. I think really the thing that matters is just having worthwhile conversations with people who you're actually interested in talking to and hearing their perspective and sharing that with people who are receptive to what it is that you're creating. Like, at the end of the day, we're all people and life is incredibly short. We really don't have a lot of time on this planet. Like, we have a limited number of heartbeats and a limited number of hours and days. It's very limited. And so, as I said, I'm trying to be very aware now of what it is I'm doing with my life, because life doesn't last forever. And you have to do stuff that you actually care about and that you're passionate about. And so that's sort of just been the internal shift for me. And it's not that I wasn't doing that before in my life. I was. It's just I think I have a greater awareness of it now. I don't regret. Probably if I could go back in time, I'd change some things. Everybody would, but I'm just aware of how fleeting life is.
Mm-hmm.
Like how one day turns into 1 week, turns into 1 month, and then a year goes by, a decade goes by, and eventually a life goes by. And it's not that long. So we have to do what we want to do with our lives. And yeah, just got to do it, man.
Just got to do it.
There's nothing else to do but do it. And whatever, and I think it's probably more important to do what you want to be doing with your life than any other metric of success. I think it's great if you make money. It's like I have a friend who I don't want to name, who
Many unnamed friends in this episode.
yeah, it's just, like sometimes
Friend-
you don't want to tell
It's okay.
people's story. It's not. It's stuff
It's
that they
not your
tell you
story,
privately, right? But I have a friend
We're
who
gonna call him Charles, though.
his name's not Charles,
His name's not Charles.
but who became very successful doing something that he did not enjoy doing, and he makes a lot of money now in it. He doesn't want to stop because he enjoys the money, but he's also incredibly depressed because he realizes that he spent probably the best years of his life doing something that doesn't really mean a lot to him. And the money doesn't fix that.
Right. Can't get that time back.
So
Trade all that money for that time, but you can't. That trade doesn't exist.
so that's what it is. I guess there's no version of life that's perfect. I think we're always going to be striving for something to be better. I'm sure there's people who aren't making a lot of money who would think, oh, if only I could make X amount of money, my life would be so much better. This would happen. And you can, but what if you do it and it's not enough for you? I would rather, the thing that I've realized is I'd rather be pursuing something that's enough for me than pursuing something that when I get it, I might be just disappointed and feel like this wasn't worth it. Like, yeah, it's nice, but it's not worth it. Because again, we're very limited. So I don't know. I feel like this has gotten so heavy.
It's pretty heavy. But so earlier I was walking around. I had a thought in my mind. It was like, interesting. I want to run it by you, see what you think about it. And I kind of came to a thought that we all live the life that we chose. If we want to live a different life, we just have to choose that is the life we're going to live, and then we go do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, honestly, like, I've never been a fan of New Year's resolutions and any of that stuff. I always thought it was stupid. Like, oh, why would you wait? Why would you wait? Like, you want to do something, do it today. And I still do believe that. But I think what was interesting about the whole New Year's resolution for a lot of people psychologically, they need a point where they decide enough is enough and they're going to make a change. Like I have another friend who I won't name who had an addiction problem and it was not good. He got into some trouble in his life and nothing made him stop. No matter how much trouble he got into, which was quite a lot, it didn't make him stop. And he eventually stopped. And I asked him, like, what was it that made you stop? And he's like, well, my mom asked me to stop. And then I just decided on that day, okay, I'm going to stop. And so, anyways, the whole point of this is there's certain things where whatever it is you need to get you to take the step that you need to take in your life, to be putting you on the course that you want to be, just get to that step, figure out what it is, and yeah, figure out what it is that's going to make you make that shift and make it happen. And that's, I think, all there is to it. I don't know. Sometimes you just need the right motivation, like you just need the right thing to change your mind.
Right. And I mean, if there's so many other people are doing it at the same time, that, it feels like a good time to do it.
Yeah, or it could be today.
Could be today. Could be your birthday. Could be yesterday. Could be now.
It could be now. You just say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm putting this away, or I'm starting this tomorrow, or I'm starting it today, and that's it. Like you literally just have to make the decision, and then honestly, and then there's a lot of practical things you can do to make it easier for you to make, a habit as your daily routine, but whatever it is, like you have to realize that the clock is ticking. So, like what's the holdup? Like what are you waiting for? Like, and I think it's easier for us to think about this for others. Like we'll look at other people and think, oh, what the hell is this person waiting for? Why don't they just, why don't they just make this change? Why don't they just do this? But for us, like, we're like, I think stuff is always psychologically harder when we're doing it for ourselves. But,
yeah.
You need to figure out what it is that's going to make you change. And a lot of times, like, I don't know, for me, I'm a very, I think, logical person. For me, thinking about things and visualizing different paths allow me to orient myself. But other people need, like, I don't know, a different trigger or whatever. But whatever it is you need, you better figure out what it is and, get to it, because life is short. It's very short, and you never know what's going to happen. So you gotta,
Gotta move. Gotta do it.
Yeah.
I heard something recently of a way, because essentially, you're saying it's hard for us to give ourselves advice. It's easy to look at others and diagnose, solutions for other people. But then when we turn it around on ourselves, it's so much more difficult. So I heard something recently at a workshop I went to where it's, if you want to be able to learn that skill of applying it to yourself, to create a fictional person that has the same problems and then give them advice. And then suddenly, oh, that's what I should do.
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of it is as well surrounding yourself with the right people. There is something about, like, your environment that becomes your destiny. Like, you really, like, I remember when I was young, I was into sociology and looking at, like, different trends of people. Like, this person grows up in this certain neighborhood. This is their sort of path in life. And you can look at the statistics and see, okay, there's a reason why people who grow up in this environment go in this different path, whether that's a positive path or a negative path. You can see that they're really influenced by what's around them. So, like, one of the things that I don't know, I realize is, like, you kind of have to surround yourself with people who want to be in the place that you're in, or, I mean, in the place that you want to be, or already are in the place that you want to be. Just because just being sometimes in people's presence will shift your mindset. Like, it'll just shift your mindset.
Oh yeah, they emit like a different type of energy, and I personally can literally feel the energy off that person. And it's just like, yeah, I'm getting powered up. I'm getting fired up. The ability that they have, seeing them in person, it's just like, now, okay, now I can do it. It makes it more real, where it's like, okay, boom. Okay. You're a human just like me. Damn. Because there's sometimes just a disconnect of people from
there
like,
is something psychological about it, but we're psychological beings. Like there's been certain days where I've just been in certain places doing certain things with certain people where my mind is like, wow, everything's possible. Like there's literally no limit, and I just can feel it. I know it. And then there's other days where it's been the total opposite, where I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to do this? Like, like you're in a totally different world now. Like every door is closed. You're like, how the heck, how am I going to get this to work? How am I going to make this happen? But we are psychological beings, and we have to understand that and set ourselves up for success and figure out tools to get us to where we need to be able to perform properly. Like you want to be in environments and around people who that are going to contribute to your success. You don't want to be around things that are going to be detrimental to your success. Because it really does. Like we're extremely, as much as we influence the world and influence other people, we're also constantly absorbing everything around us. So
sometimes, going back to what you talked about earlier, of moving, physically going somewhere else, and then all of a sudden you're appreciated more. That has two effects. You move, now you're away from any type of negative.
You don't have to be the person that you were there.
Yeah.
You don't have to be that person anymore.
Bringing you down anymore.
You're in a different place.
You'd left them all behind. Obviously, you leave some of the great people behind too when you do something like that.
Take them with you. Buy them a plane ticket.
Go back and
get
see
them in the suitcase. Get them in the.
And it actually, just speaking on moving, now personally, when I go back home, I don't have time to see everybody that I knew. So I have to be very selective of who I go see. And that's family.
Yeah.
Like we only have, like you said, there's only so much time. You think about the people that are, legends in magic, and you think about how many times in a year that they may come to a convention, you have a chance to see them, or, your grandparents, how many times you see them, maybe once a year. And it's like, okay, well, how many years are left? If there's 10, 20 years left, there's only 10, 20 times that you can, if that. And that's a handful. It's not very many.
It's not many.
And it diminishes quick.
It's not many. So again,
got it.
Without getting just so heavy.
Do it. That's all it is. You just go and do it.
Yeah.
Take the action and move and
go. And that's why, to get back to my point, I'm not trying to be heavy, but make the most of every day. Figure out how to make it actually matter. There's a lot of days, I can say in my own life, there's a lot of days that I haven't done anything of importance. There's other days where I've done things of great importance.
There's something to be said though about days when nothing happens, because sometimes you grind so hard that you need a full day to relax and
there's nothing wrong with relaxing. It's just
sometimes we feel bad about it though. So, like I personally will sometimes feel bad that I took time to relax, because it's like, I didn't push the needle forward. But it's like that's the hustle culture that's been pushed in our minds. It's like we're all different. We operate on our own thing. We're moving at our own pace. We just got to give ourselves grace sometimes. But yes, keep moving, keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely. And always just ask yourself, like, I don't know, who do you want to be? And then really take a look at where your life is going. And then if it's not going in the direction, just like if you're driving a boat and you see the compass is not pointing the right way, you gotta just turn the ship. It's not that hard.
You can still get there.
Like we don't need we're, and it doesn't, like, again, if you are sailing or you're driving a car or whatever, that's not wasted time. You're going somewhere, but sometimes you just, you got off course. You just got to turn it a little bit,
Yeah.
like it's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
Like,
literally, sometimes it's just a little correction.
yeah.
I love that. What a great analogy.
But
So
I think, sorry,
no,
I
no,
didn't mean to cut you off.
no,
Go
no,
ahead.
no. I was just gonna ask you, where are you going? What is your? Can you share it? Like, what's your
There's,
ultimate
I don't know.
vision?
There's so much magic. So I have a magic journal, and there's so many ideas that I had throughout the years that I sort of like wrote down. You get busy in a grind. You focus on an idea here and there, but there's so many, and I'm like, I really need to be sitting down and looking at what's worthwhile. Like some of them are just notes, whatever, not important little ideas here and there, but some of them are something that's really important. Like, oh, I wanted to do this piece of magic in a certain way, or I wanted to do this magic project and do it in a certain way. Why the hell haven't I done it yet? Why is it sitting in my notebook for 5 years and 10 years and I just leave it there? So for me, there's certain things that I'm looking at prioritizing, different projects, different stuff, that, like as I said, making my personal dreams come true. I have a lot of personal dreams, and I think it's dreams that will be very entertaining for people to be a part of. But it's stuff that actually also matters for me. Like it's not just nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's stuff that actually I care about.
Exactly.
So I think that's what we all should be doing stuff that we actually care about, because the rest of it is just, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So what's because I mean, obviously there's going to be magicians listening to this.
Yeah.
Primarily magicians. What's something that you would like to share with the magicians listening that that could help them?
I think we have a great responsibility when we do magic. Magic, like we have to be very honest with ourselves and realize that oftentimes magic can be so much more than what it is when we're performing it, and try to make that person's experience with you and that experience with magic a better experience. And whether that involves you spending more time on your magic, whether that involves you thinking about it and getting more experience doing it, you have to realize that you're their connection to the world of magic, and you have to be giving them your best, because it's not fair to yourself and also to them. You should never, like, we all have off nights. We all have stuff that, whatever happens. But we have to try to be at our best and give people our best, because everything matters. Like, yeah, everything just matters. So just try to do your best and, yeah, do good magic for people. Make them fall in love with magic. We want people to love magic. We don't want people to hate magic or be bored by magic or think that it's silly, or, some people might do that with magic. And maybe they're aware of it, maybe they're not aware of it. That's really beyond our scope. But we can really elevate magic, and it's good for people to be in love with magic, because magic is amazing.
That's right.
Like, wouldn't it be, we would all get more work, we would all get better work if everybody loved
Dude,
magic. Like,
it's a rising tide lifts all ships, and there's always every city I've lived in, I've always observed this where, and it seems like it's always the old heads that look down and they're like, oh, they're taking our business. These new kids are taking our business or whatever. It's like, oh, this is my area. I own this area or something like that. It's like magician versus magician mindset where we're all on the same team. We should all be elevating each other because we're all going to benefit from it. It's not that someone got a gig and that takes out of my pocket. No, it's magicians versus other entertainers. That's what it really is. It's we get people to fall in love with this art that we're in love with. And now all of these events are going to hire us. We're going to hire magicians. This guy did so good as a magician. Oh, great. Awesome. Oh, he's booked. Oh, shoot. Okay, well, we're going to get another magician. Oh, he's amazing too. Dang. And then everyone at this, we could take over entertainment if we all just work together.
Yeah.
But it's easier to just say that. But it's such a mindset shift. Because I was guilty of it, of thinking, oh, yeah, magicians, oh, yeah, it's me. They're my competition. Versus, no. They're not competition. They're friends, man. We lift each other up. That's what it's supposed to be.
And also, I think generally speaking, if you are spending enough time working on your own magic and working on your own stuff, what you're going to have to provide to people is going to be so unique that you don't need to worry about other magicians. You don't need to worry about somebody stealing your work, because the people who are coming to you because they want you. They don't just want a magician. And maybe they fall in love with magic and they discover you and they become a fan of yours. Like, I love music. That doesn't mean that I listen to every single musician. I certainly get introduced to more artists. Like, if there's a musician that I like and they have an interview and they talk about an influence of theirs, I'm like, oh, I like their music. Let me hear what, the person they learn music from sounds like. And I might not like it. I might not like it. It might not be for me. It might be. But I get exposed to different things. So, it's not a competition. Just do, good stuff. Let it be unique. And, the ecosystem will figure itself out. So I'm not worried about any competition or
that's good.
Anything. It's just,
That's good. And on the subject of lifting up our peers, what are some materials, like books, that you would like to recommend, other magicians, regardless of the level? Maybe how about this? How about a book for each level? If we just go beginner, intermediate, pro,
Okay. Well, I can't answer in that way. I'll answer my own way.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's different things for different people. I would say there's a few books that I've been really influenced by. One is David Blaine's book, Mysterious Stranger, which is a fantastic book and really, it was one of the first books on magic I ever read, and it made me fall in it introduced me to so many things that I had no idea about, different personalities, different stories. It was just wonderful. So definitely a book that I would recommend, just to, and even if you're in magic, like we're in magic, so we've probably read some history books and we know some stories, so it might be old to us, but just try to read stuff with fresh eyes and realize how amazing of an experience this can be to somebody new to magic. Like hearing about Robert Houdin performing magic for the marabouts in Algeria, and regardless of whether it's historically accurate or not, doesn't matter. But just think about that experience of people reading that and being introduced to magic in that way. And he also teaches great tricks in there, which are for beginners, and they're really well taught, and there's actually some very good tricks in there. But definitely a book that I would recommend. Another book that I would recommend, which is more for magicians is a book by Juan Tamariz called Mnemonica. Um, it's just amazing. It's a book on his work with the memorized stack. Well, and his stack specifically, there's so many interesting concepts in there that you can learn about in different books on card magic, but the way that it's structured is it has so many, like, it has classic tricks that we all perform, but his own version with his system. But then there's all this other stuff that is built into the mathematics of his deck, where you can have your deck be in what they call stay stack, which is, you know, a mathematical thing where one half of the deck mirrors the other half of the deck. And there's a lot of great tricks and ideas that you can do with that. And he provides many, like, the whole thing is built with tricks, but you can look behind it. And to me, it's like, I think it's probably one of the best books in card magic ever written. I think people underutilize the concept. Like, they just use it for a very short trick, or the people use usually that tool for very limited purposes, but there's so many things that you can do with it, and it gets better with the years. Like, it's hard to explain.
Like fine wine.
So Mnemonica is there. Another book that I really like is The Magic of Ascanio, specifically Volume 2, which is on his card magic. Volume 3 is also good. Volume 3 is a lot more difficult, but Volume 2 has just so many great pieces of card magic, and they're structured really well. Like, there was a time when I was discovering card magic and seeing certain magicians put out material, and they had all this nonsense that you had to do, like, okay, like, you're done this phase of the trick, and then you have to, like, now you have to count 4 cards off the top or transfer them to the bottom and do all this stuff. And, like, you had to do it to get the deck set up for the next phase of the routine. But with Ascanio, everything is really brilliant in the structure. So as you're performing the trick, you're setting everything up in advance. So, like, one thing leads to another thing flawlessly. And it's just very beautiful and clever when somebody solves those problems. So you don't have to, it's very technical. You're still doing a lot of work, but the work is as part of the presentation. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just really genius the way that he would structure magic. Ascanio is amazing. Let's see. Oh, one other book that I really like, although a lot of people disagree with me, but I think it's a great book, is the Max Malini book by Steve Cohen. People, for some magicians, have complained to me that, you know, oh, this isn't how Max Malini did his magic, blah, blah, blah. And I just think, like, everybody sort of just needs to shut up and enjoy the magic. Like, I'm glad that everything's documented by Steve Cohen, providing his thoughts on it. I don't care if Max Malini did it a little bit differently, or if maybe he has something technically wrong. I think Steve Cohen is a very clever guy, and he's thought a lot about all this, and he's very knowledgeable on Max Malini. And I'm always happy when something's published than not published. Like, one book that I picked up recently when I was in LA was a book that's quite hard to find. It's called The Magic of Francis Carlyle, and it's a horrible book. It's really a horrible book, but it's the only book that's written on Francis Carlyle's magic. You can find some of his magic tricks spread out in other books by other authors like Di Vernon, and they wrote some of his tricks in some places, or or published version of it. So you can see like, okay, how are they teaching this? Maybe Francis doesn't. Anyways, this guy wrote this book on Francis Carlyle's magic, and it's a horrible book. There's some pages that are like gibberish, like like it's really hard to read. Like it's an old book written in the 70s. You're like, what the? But I'm very happy that it was written because I'm happy that stuff exists than if it doesn't exist. And like whatever it is, if you're in love with the magician's material or whatever, you will take the time to go dig through a really badly written book or a really badly shot film or whatever to sort of sift through and find the gems because they're there. So, I don't know. I just love that stuff gets documented and that we have it and we can do with it what we want. And probably the best use of it is to just have it to inspire us to do our own things. But I'm just happy when anybody, puts out something that we never thought we would have access to. So, those are some great books. Even though I'm trashing the Francis Carlyle book, I very much enjoyed it. Even though objectively I can say it's not a good book, I love it. It's like I'm going to be rereading it and I've made several notes of very interesting things that I've come across and things that I think are genius, like just unbelievably genius. But, I can still objectively say it's not a good book. But
which book is this? Francis Carlyle?
The Magic of Francis Carlyle.
Oh, Magic. Oh, okay. Magic of.
And, that's how it is in magic. You'll buy a book or a DVD, and there might be 10 things in it that you never use, but that one thing is worth the price of admission. Like you might only get one thing, but if it turns into a trick that you perform, and it's just in your regular repertoire that you do every day, or it goes into a show, it's so worth it. So, in magic, get used to just going through a lot of stuff. And that's one of the things that I don't like about the way magic is released today. Usually it's individual tricks today rather than bigger projects. Sometimes it's bigger projects, but I like the bigger projects personally because there's a lot of stuff, and just like the old magic old magic books, like there's a lot of stuff in there and a lot of it is junk. And that's okay because there's really good stuff, but then also with enough creativity and imagination, you can turn some of the junk, like you'll get a spark of inspiration from some of the junk. Like without going into the effect and exposing it, there's a really bad trick that I read that uses a mirror glass. And most professional magicians don't use mirror glasses because usually they're not well made, and magicians will do really basic effects in it, like they'll put a red handkerchief in and then they'll turn around and it'll be a white one, or something silly, something not silly, but something not the best use of such a prop. Well, anyways, sometimes you read something with, a simple prop like this, and the trick is not good. Then you think, oh, what if I combined it with this idea? What if I did it this way? And then you have an idea that actually ends up like really interesting. And, so just go through everything, I guess, and take notes and allow yourself to just dream what can be done.
I love that. So do you jot down your notes as the day goes, like in your phone or something, or on a...
So I used to do digitally, but then I got quite annoyed with digital because sometimes I would write something down and I knew I had written it down, but I couldn't find it. And I don't know if it's just because I have thousands of notes, but or maybe sometimes you misspell something. So when you're searching for it, it just doesn't pop up. You're like, where is this? So what I start to do is I will take notes digitally just because it's easier for me in the moment too. But every once in a while now, I will transfer stuff to physical notebooks that and I'll just do, like, if it's an idea, like, let's say I have 10 ideas with the ambitious card. I'll be able to just type in ACR or ambitious into my notes on my phone. Everything pops up. I'll transfer it all onto one page of this notebook. And so I have all, like this page on ambitious card with all my notes throughout the year on that trick, whatever. And then I'll do that with each trick. And then I'll have miscellaneous ideas. And then that's just sort of like the work notebook. Like I don't really care about it. It's just sort of whatever pops up. But then if I decide to work on a trick or something, then I will go through the notebook and say, okay, here's a page on all my thoughts on this, or different variations or different ideas. Now I can sit down and play with them and see what good ideas pop up. And then, whatever does pop up that's interesting or good, I then transfer it into a new notebook, like a better notebook. And then it
graduates to...
Yeah, it graduates. And I don't get rid of the old notebook, but sometimes I will archive it. Like I'll make a mark on certain stuff to be like, this has been resolved. I don't need to, I won't cross it out because I still want it to be there, but I'll have a way with color to just mark it as like, this is something I don't need to look at anymore. And then, I can look at stuff by color. Like this is on my to-do list. This stuff is done, or, whatever. And so I can constantly graduate onto more refined ideas. And
I like that.
So
I like that. That sounds fun.
That's how I've been taking notes. And then also I just organize notes in different ways. Like sometimes it's a magic idea. Sometimes it's just a visual that I would think that's interesting that I don't really know the trick. Or sometimes it's a line or something, like a quote that I think is really beautiful, or an idea. And so I have different parts of the notebook for different things. Like I have a part with quotes that I'm like, oh, I want to figure out how to put a story about this, with this quote. And yeah, it's sort of all just is there, and you get to sit down and work on stuff and resolve stuff. Because with the phone, I feel like there's no resolution. It's like a black hole of information. Like you just pump information into it, and then there's like an endless scroll, and you're like, this doesn't mean anything to me. I just have an endless, literally an endless scroll of everything.
And it's so hard.
Doom.
For some reason, it's harder to organize. And I bring that up because I just recently started a different, new to me, it's been around for a while, of way to organize notes and whatnot. So I feel like I'm going to be on the paper train like you.
Well, the paper also doesn't take up so much room. It's not like we're writing encyclopedias of magic here. Like the idea might be a line, or it might be a paragraph if you're going into a technical explanation. Yeah. And maybe you can even make a video of it. Like I have friends who will make videos of different magic techniques or routines and different variations, and then they'll create it as an unlisted video, and they'll just have an archive, but then they'll have it in their notebook as
interesting.
I have this recording on this date. It's in my, it's either in my YouTube or my Vimeo.
Pause that for a moment. We have a camera that
problem.
Died. We have a camera died. So let me we're probably gonna leave this in.
Okay. Well, I'll keep talking.
Sure. Keep them entertained.
So yeah, so it's very interesting because they will just make a video. It'll be an unlisted thing, and the reason why they can make it private, they can make it unlisted. Unlisted, I think, is better because you can send it to some friends, and whatever. There's all sorts of ways to put passwords on stuff. It's not a big deal, but
And unlimited hosting.
exactly, you put the date on it or the variation, and then you just put it in your notebook, and now you have a video archive as well of like, here's this idea for a routine. Because sometimes certain routines, it's really hard to describe different techniques and movements and timing and stuff. Like you don't want to write that down in a notebook. It's just not worth looking at. And then also another cool idea that I saw with notebooks as well and it's from Juan Tamariz. He has a whole system of symbols, and he actually released a few books on it. I don't know what they're called. They're only in Spanish. But it's basically he has developed his own way of creating symbols to have references to look at magic tricks that he's worked on or created. And it's very like simple. It'll just be like little drawings with lines and numbers and stuff. And I thought it was very useful because with the drawing, you can just make like a little reference drawing, and now you have your stack in it. Like, for example, if I'm working on, let's say, an ace assembly or something, and it requires a stack at the beginning, like you need a certain setup, I will have it now through the system of symbols. Instead of writing, order from top to down, now I'll have a little drawing where if I need a red indifferent card, it'll just be a red card, not a red card, a red line with a red pen. And then if it's a black indifferent card, it's going to be a black line. And so those are for the indifferent cards. And then if it's specific cards that I need in certain places, I will just put that card in the sequence. So like, Ace of Hearts, and it'll be drawn red. So I can quickly look at it and know, okay, Ace of Hearts, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Ace of Hearts is going to be in the 7th position. And then like I just count, I need X in different cards. If there's a card reverse, I do the same thing with that little line, but then I just put a little arrow on it to mark that it's reversed, so it's facing up or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so now you can have all your stacks for different routines or different setups, and you have that for every single phase. So now instead of a write-up that would be like 2 or 3 pages for a routine, with just a few drawings, you can have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 with a little drawing, and you can see what the condition of the deck or the cards from your drawing, and you're like, oh, okay. And because a lot of times you don't need all that information of like, okay, now you pick up a double here and you do this spread and you do this. Like a lot of times you don't need all that information. Sometimes you just need a reference to activate your memory to know like, okay,
right,
this is
some short form. This is, I guess, a way that
you
have for
like a shortcut
notations.
Yeah. Like, okay, and you can just look at the drawing and be like, okay, how do I get from phase 1 to phase 2? Okay, I sort of remember that I had to do this. Mm-hmm. But when you have it drawn out, it just becomes very easy to look at the page and do what you need to do with the cards and see, okay, this is the right way, this is the wrong way.
Right.
Because there's some routines that if you don't perform them regularly, like some more complex routines, you might forget them. Like you won't forget the whole routine, but you might forget certain information, and it's really annoying to have to go back to the book or video,
source material, yeah,
and
find
watch the whole thing.
Find the time code when it happened. Sometimes you have to watch the whole thing.
Exactly, and it's a waste of time.
You don't know where in the book it is.
And so you might make slight adaptations or stuff, or figure like, there's all sorts of different adjustments that you might
ways to
make.
Hold on to that.
So
I want to add to that because I think this new notation system that I stumbled upon, it's called bullet journal. And I mean, maybe this is just rudimentary and it's just like I just stumbled upon it, but it's like such a basic thing. I don't know. But for me, it was something that just clicked in, and I was like, dude, of course that's how you do it. So basically, at the beginning of the notebook, you make an index, and then you write down, okay, like since this is like an everything thing, I got January on page 5, and then I got this episode, the notes from this episode, page 9. So I've labeled them so I can go to page 9. Okay, that's where it's going to be. I can go back and I can finish my January stuff, continue them again on the next, after this, and just keep on.
Oh, so it's like an index or like a table of contents.
Exactly. So anytime something happens, boom, goes in the index, and it's like, okay, so if I'm talking about an ambitious card, okay, ambitious card routine, pages 5, pages 20, pages 32, pages 84. Boom. Okay. Now I know I've referenced that trick all of here, and I can go through this in chronological order as my life goes. And it's all saved in this index for reference later. And it's like such a small little thing where it's like when you do something, log it in the index, and then you got it.
Okay. I have another cheat code that's going to blow your mind.
Please. Yes.
So
more. I want more because I'm loving this paper shit.
If you only write on one side of the page, here's what you can do. When you're done with that notebook, you don't have to rewrite stuff out. You can just cut out blocks of that page and paste it into a new notebook.
Oh.
So if you don't have writing on both sides of the page, you can literally just cut out what you need to cut out. Let's say it's for a different trick or different project, and put it where you need to put it. And
I like that. I don't know if I can commit to not writing on both, because like look at this book, man. It lays flat. No matter what, it lays flat.
This notebook is too nice for the cut and paste.
Okay, so I need a.
You need a notebook.
This is like the ultimate spellbook book. So this is where it graduates to, is what you're saying. I need something.
You need to go to the dollar store.
This is from the dollar store.
Okay, you need to go to the 50-cent store.
Okay.
you need something that you're okay with, like.
Drop the 50-cent beat. Let's go.
Sorry. You need no, but seriously, because it's quite cool. To just be able to cut something out and then paste it somewhere.
Maybe that's where the small pocket journals comes into play, because this is too big to put in like my pocket or bring with me. But those pocket ones, those are great because they're so much smaller. They can go in a little bag. Maybe those are the ones that I do one-sided on.
Yeah, because look, functionally, you just want the information, right?
There we go. Unlocked.
It's hard to then go back and look at the information. Then you have to transfer it to a different place. Like whether it's digital or whether it's physical, it's annoying. Like I don't care if you're cutting and pasting it and then you have a folder and you have a document and you're trying to, like, do you know how many Word documents I have or had that had duplication? Like I literally did the work and I'm like, this is already here. And then I'm trying to combine this with this, but I already put this here. And then like, just show outlines and different stuff that I have. And I'm like, what the hell why did I do this so many different times? Like, it's everything. So it's much more functional when you can just take out scissors, cut something, put it there, have it. And if you don't need it, you can just tear it out, throw it out, and whatever.
Yeah, if you use a rubber cement, you just peel it out.
Well,
we all have rubber cement. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I just use glue. I just glue stick.
Glue stick. Oh yeah, you can peel.
Glue stick.
Glue stick, peelable, right?
I don't care to peel it off. I just leave it, and like you, everything has a shelf life as well. Like that's another thing. Like the tool has to. The tool is not about the tool. The tool is there to serve a purpose, and then to be discarded after. It's like, and
then to go on the shelf in the logs.
Yeah.
Retired.
Leave it for the historians to sort out.
Right.
Like,
and they can go back and look through.
Yeah. Let them decipher the ravings. But no, I think just yeah, that's what I have been doing as well. Just certain stuff I will have it only on one side so that I can just cut and paste and um yeah.
Literally cut and paste.
Yeah, literally cut and paste.
The
Or honestly, like, look, you have
oh,
your
that's where it came from.
you have
That's so funny.
your whiteboard up there. Like, uh, I I I remember working on a project with a friend who was editing some stuff, and he had all these sequences with tricks and different stuff, and it was all just sort of not on post-it notes, but on like these little magnetic. I don't. Maybe they were post-it notes. I don't even remember, but maybe bigger post-it notes. But it was just very easy to like pull off, stick up. Like you can change the order of things, see how stuff lays out differently. And for me, I don't know. People think differently and see stuff differently, but I'm very visual. Like I like to have stuff charted out in front of me so
Yes.
that I can
Yes, me too.
look at it, and it's a lot easier if you can just move stuff than if you have to like rewrite it or cut
Right.
and paste and like so that's why I don't like
I love the post-it note game.
the computer
that.
sometimes. Yeah, the post-it note, because you can be like, okay, let's say I'm planning a show this year, and here's the material, and here's sort of the structure I want, and let's put this trick here and this trick here, and I know that I want this at the end, and then you look at it, and then you can have some side notes, and you can sort of move stuff around. It's so much easier than if you have to like rewrite it or like
Mm-hmm.
it's just saves mental energy.
Yeah, and it's in the physical space. I find too, like when I do stuff like that, I literally will be able to picture it in my mind when I'm not here.
Yeah,
Of
you,
where it
you
is,
will.
you know. Whereas if I have it in my phone, I can't picture this my phone when I'm out there. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a millennial. Maybe Gen A can do it.
No,
I don't know.
I have friends who have told me as well that one of the reasons why they like reading from books, like especially magic books as well, is they remember where certain things are in the books. So like they'll know a trick is in the first quarter of the book, and they remember I saw this illustration. It's on the top left, and so they can open the book and very quickly get access to it. Whereas if it's a PDF or something, it's not physical. You have to scroll. You're like, oh, where did I see it?
Mm-hmm.
But our minds have evolved to know where stuff is. Like certain
In
times,
space,
l-
we're
our
spatial beings.
our
you know?
workspaces can be a mess, and somebody would be like, how the hell do you find anything here? And you're like, ask me, what do you need? Like the other day, somebody asked me for a card for, there's a mountain co-op store that you used to need like a membership card to buy there. Maybe you still do. I don't know. And
Okay.
I hadn't been there in some while, and they're like, oh, do you have your card? I'm like, yeah, I have my card. And like I hadn't used the card in a year, and I'm like, I know exactly where it is. And I went to the shelf under this random pile of junk that I haven't touched in forever, and I knew exactly where it was. And it's like the mind is just, or at least the male mind, I don't know about the female mind, is just evolved to like know where we put our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just know where it is.
Oh yeah, and I can't speak to women, but I have so many times where my girlfriend Stephanie is like, "Oh, where's this?" And I was like, "Actually, I already logged. I saw it. It was on the front table of the blah blah blah." Because I don't know, just
I'm like a
just
mastermind of knowing. Like I'll be like,
it's like her phone. She doesn't know where it is. Like I
I'll
saw
be
it over there.
asking somebody like, "Hey, can you get me this from the fridge?" And they'll open the fridge. Where is it? And they'll ask me, "Where is it? I can't see it." I'm like, "Okay, it's exactly on the top shelf, like top right corner,
Yeah.
like behind this." Like I'll just have it mapped out in my mind. I don't know. It's just
Yep.
like we just remember stuff. I think it might be a male thing. Like
I think it is.
it's not a sexist thing, but I think the male mind might be better evolved to orientation. That's like generally why men are
Yeah,
said to be
spatial
better
orientation.
with maps and stuff.
Yeah.
Directions, navigation.
I saw something similar too, where it's like we'll even do better on those types of tests where it's like, what does this shape look like when it's like which shapes are the same and like they're just turned 90 degrees to 180 degrees or something, and males typically do much better at that, because we're able to, in our mind, move things around, like shift space around in our mind and imagine it,
Yeah.
you know?
I it's probably an evolutionary thing, but yeah, having stuff physically in front of you that you can move around, I find very useful. And like, actually, also having it physically in front of you, like, I think your board that's
Dude, I'm so
not in
happy about
this
that board.
is great because you can literally put the most important stuff in front of your face every day.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes you need to have important stuff
Every
in your
day,
face.
man. Yeah. Like there's certain quotes and different, like, I won't go into too much of the weeds, but there's certain things that it's like, I need to look at it while I'm on the phone with a client.
Yeah.
Or something
And
like that.
because the opposite is true. You know, they say out of sight, out of mind. And it's true. When something's not in front of you, it's not on your mind. When it's in front of you, it's on your mind. Like, you can't help but have it on your mind.
Yes. Yes,
So,
that was such a hack to put that whiteboard up there. Literally, I just finished it like yesterday. I'm so happy about
maybe
that.
that's what I will do. I will just put on my wall different things, not a huge list of things because that's too disorienting, but a few things that I need to have front of mind,
Mm-hmm.
goals, projects, etc., and just have it in my face
Yes.
so that it's like anytime I'm thinking about something else, I have this thrown in my face. You know, like, it's just in your face.
Yes.
Sometimes we I don't know, we need that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because unless you have an assistant doing that for you, we have to do it for ourselves.
An assistant or a nagging wife or, you know,
Or a loving wife.
but you want to be like your own nagger, right? Like, nobody likes to be nagged. Like, you know, like, like, everybody's experienced the nag.
Sure.
You know, it's just is what it is. But you want to be your own nagger where it's like you're constantly putting something in your face that you need done. Like, hey,
Mhm.
did you remember to do this?
Yeah, man. And that's where, like, do you journal? Because I
Oh.
journaled for a long time, and obviously I'm back in it. I will be journaling after this episode
Okay.
to get my thoughts down and everything that I just learned from you. But what I found back when I did was that, because I also journaled, last time I journaled heavily was when I was quitting smoking.
Okay.
And so quitting nicotine, like a hard addiction. It's like, it's such a hard thing to kick, and to look back and as it's happening, to see common thoughts come up. Because if you free flow thought to paper journal, you're going to notice externally your internal thoughts as it goes onto the page.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can go back a few days and be like, oh, interesting. And things start to show themselves, which we may not have been aware of. So we can make ourselves aware of more of our internal world just by simply putting it on paper.
Right on.
So yeah, I just got fired up about this dang thing again.
Awesome, man. Well,
how's it going? How are we on time?
how are we on time? You know what?
Got a hot date next, hey?
Not a hot date. Not a hot date. I wish. But it's actually quite an ugly date.
Oh no.
No, I'm joking. I
Can you say their name this time, or do they have to
It's-
remain nameless
no,
again?
it's a joke. I'm joking. I know I actually have to leave in about 15 minutes because I have a ride.
Oh, okay.
But
Understood.
let's
Let's wrap it up then.
wrap it up with final notes.
Final notes. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Well, actually, there is one. Nah, I'm not. Evolved past that. Sorry.
What is it? What is it?
No, there's a question. There's an old question I used to do, but I don't like that question anymore. So
Okay.
how about we just we end with this. You're a magician. You're crushing it. We're looking up to you. I look up to you. You do amazing things. So
Well,
I just want to
literally
thank
look up to you because you're taller than me, but you know.
Fair. But yeah, I love what you're doing, and thank you for coming on here and sharing your thoughts, your wisdom. You're such a well-spoken individual, and you're doing great things in the magic world, and I can definitely see, you know, your trajectory. You know, I can see where you're headed, and you're headed to great things in the magic world and beyond, and I'm excited to see that happen. So thank you for bringing me into your world, and I can't wait to watch your digital world as well, and to see more things and collab on more things. So Mahdi, where is the best place for people listening to and watching to find you and follow along and stay connected?
Just find me at Mahdi the Magician, MAHDI the Magician. It's pretty easy. And yeah, man, thank you for doing this. I'm actually really excited to be part of whatever this is, the Audioverse.
Yes, the Hadlen Audioverse.
And this is just the
Magician's
beginning.
Code.
The Magician's
specifically
Code.
Within that
Tonight,
universe.
we're not breaking the Magician's Code.
That's right.
Maybe another night.
We didn't reveal any magic, I don't think.
Well, we talked a little bit about magic secrets, but you know, if somebody's willing to listen to all this, you deserve it.
Yeah, and here's the thing is like when you type in the Magician's Code, Val Valentino pops up. I want to change that.
We will change it.
I want, when the Magician's Code is typed in, I want it to change to something that betters the art instead.
Awesome.
Of exposure.
Well, thank you so much, Hadlen. I'm also excited to see what you're doing. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff together this year, I'm sure. So
yes.
we got...
This is just the beginning.
Guys, stay tuned. It's going to be great.